With 620,000 deaths and 476,000 injured, the Civil War was the bloodiest war in American history. Starting in the early months of 1861, it was thought to be an engagement that would only last a few months. Instead, there was over 4 years of gut-wrenching fighting that tore the country apart. This is where the story of Cold Mountain begins. Cold Mountain uses setting to create conflict and friendship, which furthers Ada and Inman's character development as they try to survive in a land desolated by civil war. The first song being played is Lorena by Henry D. L. Webster. This is sung by Inman and his fellow soldiers during the Battle of Fredericksburg in the year 1862. Inman, one of the protagonists in the novel, is a Confederate soldier who fought in the Battle of the Crater. He was one of the 2,500 soldiers injured during the course of the battle. He was transported to a hospital in North Carolina so he could heal. Inman stays at this hospital for some time and collects his thoughts. He knows that once he is healed, he will be sent right back to the front lines. After much debating, he decides to desert the Confederate Army and go back to Cold Mountain. Over 25% of all North Carolina soldiers deserted the war like Inman. This was the highest desertion rate of any state. To reach Cold Mountain, Inman must walk on the various dirt roads throughout North Carolina. The Confederate Home Guards, a militia group that hunts down deserters, are watching the main routes, so Inman must find a way around them. These roads were not pleasant due to the amount of mud. However, these paths helped clear his head, gave him time to think about his future goals. He says, "The road," they said, "was a place apart, a country of its own ruled by no government but natural law, and its one characteristic was freedom," on page 128. On his journey, Inman makes plenty of new friends when he stumbles upon a group of traveling showmen and gypsies. He said, "I guess I'm to be as outlaws myself, show folk, outliers, tribe of Irish gypsy horse traders all thrown in together," on page 124 and 125. Inman joined this group for a couple days and learned a lot about himself. Ada grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, as a daughter to a rich preacher named Monroe. She was well educated, but never got along with the other girls who wanted to marry at the age of 18. Rumors were spreading around why she was refusing to get married, when in reality, she just wanted to wait for the right man. That man was Inman. A woman said to Ada, "I ought to keep my mouth shut, but you ought to marry him," on page 100. After the war breaks out, Monroe and Ada buy a farm in a town near Cold Mountain. Ada, never having worked a day in her life, finds it hard to fit in with a community whose interests lie in farming and hunting. However, her father, being a well-recognized preacher, becomes the head of the local church. As this is happening, a lot of the men are being shipped off to fight in the war. Ada and Inman chat, but nothing comes of it, and he goes off to Virginia. Monroe dies, and with little money, Ada feels hopeless and alone. However, she meets a lady named Ruby, who teaches her how to run a farm. Up to this point, she's not had many real friends, so Ruby allowed Ada to open up. Ruby teaches Ada how to grow food, how to spend money wisely, and how to identify different plants and animals. Because of this, Ada started appreciating nature and its beauty. She said, "It would be a great pleasure year after year to watch with anticipation as the sun drew high to the notch and then on a specified day fell into it and then rose out of it and retraced its path," on page 144 and 145. As Ada became more in touch with nature, she learned that she needs to work for what she wants in her life. If she used to need food, she'd go to the local store and buy it. Now, she goes and picks it right from her farm. Ada finally learned how to become self-dependent. On page 144 and 145, it says, "But now, as she looked out at the view, she held the opinion that what she saw was no token, but was all the life there is." Having both gone on their journeys, Ada and Inman finally reunite by Cold Mountain. Inman learned that he must appreciate the people he holds dear. Ada learned that she must be open with her feelings towards others. With these character developments, done by setting, they finally admit they are in love. However, not all stories have happy endings. After a couple days of being reunited, Inman is caught by the Confederate Home Guard and gets shot. The novel ends with him lying in Ada's arms as she cries.